Welcome into a special 30 Minutes of Hell brought to you by Field of 68 Network. We've got Justin, Cole, Moore, the Valerie Company, and the starting point guard for the Poen, I don't know your mascot, state
Indians.
Team. What is they called?
Indians.
No.
Indians, man.
Oh,
Roll
okay.
Tribe.
I thought you said idiots. I was
No,
like,
no. Indians. Roll Tribe. That's our
Roll Tribe.
that's our saying.
Roll them. Justin, Cole, Moore, we are going to get into a lot of things. It's not going to be hell. We've known each other a long time. First, I want to, for all our listeners, because we got Razorback fans, and I apologize, I'm actually snowed in right now in Charlotte because
wow.
The reason why I wanted to record with you specifically today, I thought I was going to be home, and I thought I'd be able to show you all my Razorback memorabilia. I got a Razorback weight belt. I have bobbleheads. So hopefully maybe in March before the tournament, we can do it again and I can show you all my stuff.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The good news is I have seen, we've done this before. We used to do this together weekly. So I've seen the old 22 jersey behind you.
I used to get dressed up in my uniform every damn podcast we did. Quick catch up on you. You have recently taken the position as a morning radio sports host in the Little Rock, the Buzz Morning Mayhem. I think it's a match made in heaven. It fits you perfectly. I'm so happy that you have found another passion in your life. I mean, how charmed of a life are you, man? Are you real life? Like, is this, you must wake up, pinch yourself, brother. Like, so for those who don't know, Justin is going to be on 6 to 10 with David Basil, Roger Scott, and Justin Moore on the beloved Buzz, who for me, they're a life changer. Give me opportunity. How's that been going?
Yeah, I'm just trying to fill your shoes, man. Trying to fill your shoes. You did such a great job, and we became friends while you were obviously living here in Little Rock, and a friendship that I value and appreciate, and you know that. I needed another job, Pat, like a hole in the head. With my music career, and obviously it's busy and hectic.
And you got four.
And I have four kids, 3 daughters who are 12, 10, and 7, and a little boy who's 4. And I'm really involved with them. I coach all their basketball and softball teams, and adding a t-ball team this year. So I don't know if I thrive in the chaos, and I needed a little more of it. But in all sincerity, we've had a lot of people calling in and going, man, I can't believe you're quitting music. And I go, no. Ho. No, that's still my passion. And the music's not going to slow down at all. But I am really excited about this opportunity, PB. It's just, as well as anybody, the passion that I have for sports.
Yep.
All of the above: basketball, baseball, football mainly, but I keep up with it as a hobby anyway, and in particular anything Arkansas Razorback. And so the opportunity kind of came by a fluke conversation that David Basil and I had months and months and months ago, and quite honestly, and
it's filled in at times as a host when others were out. I think we even did couple entire shows together when other hosts were out. So you were familiar with it.
That's correct. And I had become friendly with everybody at the station, and obviously yourself included. And I'm a fan of the station and the product. And again, anything I can get, anything more Razorback, I'm all about it. And when I was on the road, when I lived in Nashville, when I was on tour, I always had it going on the app on my phone. And I was usually texting in particular to their show, which was formerly the Show with No Name. I was texting, hey, you're talking about Pat Bradley's the one that did this, or Daryl Macon, because these
Right.
they talk quicker than they think sometimes. So I thought, if I'm gonna be up listening anyway, hell, I might as well join them. But I didn't know it would happen until, honestly, Pat, a month or so before it did. I thought, well, they're not gonna put up with my schedule and all of these things, and they were willing to work with me when I get back out on the road, which is I will be in about a month from now, and they understand that I'll have to miss some here and there depending on my tour schedule. But the only negative I kept coming up with, Pat, was that I would have to get up early. As a touring musician for 15 plus years, you and I have had some late nights together.
Oh yeah.
It's
Oh,
that was the only thing I kept saying, boy, I don't know about this. And then I really honestly thought to myself, man, you got an opportunity to go work for the station that talks Razorbacks,
yeah.
and talk sports, and have an opportunity to um, make some relationships with people in the sports world. And if nothing else, it'll be a whole lot of fun. And if the only reason you're going to say no to that opportunity is because you're too lazy to get up early, well, that's just that. It's lazy. So I've had a lot of fun with it so far.
Frankly, after the 2+ years we've had in lockdown, you're probably grateful to have somewhere to go every day, Monday to Friday. And it's not like you're going to dig holes and dig ditches and or
Right.
put roofs on houses. You're going to talk to your friends about sports. So
That
in a little way, and guess what? Sorry, honey, I gotta leave the 4 kids. I gotta go to work. Okay.
that's
So
that's
I'm
some
glad.
great. Those are all great points.
Yeah.
I think when we got shut down and taken off the road for about 18 months, the first year of that was very difficult on us, and we're thankful. Everyone in my camp and my family, etc., have been fortunate enough to be safe throughout this whole thing, and no one has gotten really, really ill. We haven't lost anyone, thank God, and obviously condolences to those who have. It's just been awful, but it affected me. It's the first time I didn't have a job and wasn't on the road in 15 plus years, and so there is an element to this that is good for me and has been good for me, even though we're only 3 weeks in. Knowing that I have somebody relying on me to be somewhere and be on point, etc.
And
Because
so careful.
as you know, the vodkas can start coming earlier and earlier in the day if you don't have any responsibilities.
Right. And give you something to prepare for. Well, let's get into a little hog talk. Up till this point right now, currently, while we're talking, they're coming off a huge win against LSU on the road. What positives, which puts them now at first, 0-3. Everybody thought the sky's falling. Beat Missouri at Bud Walton. Go to LSU, a really good LSU team, ranked in the top 20. What were the positives that you saw in that LSU game? And do you feel like this team, let me ask it this way, do you feel like this team has found what they've been missing over the last week, these last 2 wins, Missouri, LSU?
Well, they certainly have for those 2 games. I think it's yet to be determined. I still want to see them play a couple of the teams that coming into Bud Walton you should definitely beat, and really before you went into the year thought you had a chance to beat on the road. A&M.
Right.
Then I think you go to Ole Miss maybe after that. Not an easy place to play, but I think certainly a winnable game. But what I've seen over the last couple games, Pat, and you're the pro here, so you tell me if I'm crazy or if I'm accurate here.
Watch as much
It
as
looks
everybody.
like look like in particular in the LSU game, we finally had 2 guys, JD Notae and Jalen Williams, say, we're not going to lose. We refuse to lose this game. And those guys were, in my opinion, Jalen Tate last year, and Justin Smith. Those were the two guys who said, no, it ain't happening.
Right.
In my opinion. And I think JD and Jalen were the best two players on the floor against LSU the entire game. And I even made a comment to my wife when we were watching the game, and this was, I don't know, midway point of the game. I said, Jalen Williams is having a career night. Nobody will realize that because he at the time had 6-8 points and about 9 boards. But I think he took 3 or 4 charges. He was getting every defensive rebound, it seemed, for us. He was doing all of those type things. He was making really good passes to get open looks for guys. He was a really calming presence to me on the floor for us. And then as the team, as an overall team, the last 5-6 minutes of the game, we really locked in defensively, and we're on a string more so than we've been all year, in my opinion. And I've been screaming on the radio, Pat, can we please play some defense? We've got to get our rotations in order, and we did that. And if you remember, Pat, when we started our run last year, that's what we did to teams. The last 5 or 6 minutes of the game, we locked people up and just kind of suffocated them. And I'm hopeful that, that get right game against Mizzou, which I got a chance to go to at the Bud, it was awesome. I'm hopeful that got us going. And then you can't, I don't think you can quantify how big that win was, on the road against number 12. Nobody's giving you a chance. I think that was one chance to, and you're going to have plenty because, as you know, the SEC is really, really good this year, which I think is a positive for us because we've got some wrongs that we need to right, and we got one of them.
I love what you said about Note and Jay Williams because Musselman, Coach Muss has said, he hadn't called anybody out, but he has said in interviews, we don't have somebody who is stepping up to take control, to be that guy that everybody needs. Every winning team has at least one guy. Some of them have 10, like the national championship team, Bullets and Scotty and Corey Beck, they were all like that. So there was no doubt when being around those guys. I know that. That's the reason why I bring it up. But so I'm gonna lock it. I'm gonna use that. What you said, I'm gonna give you credit for. I'm gonna give you credit for it.
Well, thank you.
Here's what I said going into the LSU game. In a strange way, it was with Coach Musselman being out, I felt like this was it. This was the nut cutting time, as they say, because number one, we all know, as much as you love and respect your assistant coaches, that head coach that's your ear. Like he could say something 10 miles away. You'd be like, uh-oh, did coach just say something? It's like I'll tell you, I'll give you so we would go in Bud Walton, we would practice in the Bud when I was playing. And we would walk in on the floor level, and you'd have to either take the stairs or an elevator down to the court level, just how it's designed. Bud Walton's down, settled into the ground.
Right. So
we would walk into the arena, and we go, and we would smell if Coach Richardson was there or not. And if he was there, we go, man, we could smell it because he had an aftershave. His cologne was, you could tell. Man, we're like, damn, we're late. We just book it down there. If you didn't smell it, you'd be like, oh, okay, we take our time getting downstairs. So my point is, the head coach has a certain hold on you. So my thing going into this LSU game was like, okay, are they going to grow up today? Are they going to show maturity to listen to their assistant coaches, number one, but also hear that in the back of their head coach? And so I think they grow up, and I think they did grow into their roles, Note and Jay Williams. And that's important for any team, is to be able, it's you guys, it's the team at the end of the day. Coach Musselman says, you talk about defense, Coach Musselman says, we're doing the exact same defensive drills that we did last year when we led the country and 3-point shooting percentage defense. We do the exact same drills. It's a different result. So it doesn't always have to be on the players because it's the coach's responsibility to push the right buttons and put them in position to succeed. So I do think that's a big. And looking forward, right now, to go back to those losses, the Vanderbilt loss is going to be the one. If we're sitting here in March talking, you and I, that's going to be the one that we're like, dang, because Mississippi State is a good team. Mississippi State just they at home to just beat Alabama. They're right now an NCAA tournament team. At Texas A&M, there's going to be a lot of people who lose in College Station this year, believe me. So you fast forward how important that LSU game was, and I know the haters are going to say their starting point guard was out, and it's true. However, a win is a win.
Well, we were missing a starter in Kamani Johnson too, and our head coach. You know, Kamani Johnson started against Missouri, and I think he's been a big help to us getting more physical this year.
Yeah. What do you? So moving forward, everything you know now, what have you kind of locked in on the keys for this team to have success?
Well, first and foremost, that's a great Nolan story. We need to talk more. I want to hear more of those. That's awesome. I think you make a great point too when you say that they grew up a little bit. You know, whether it's going to carry them to an Elite Eight this year, I don't know. I mean, they got a lot of work to do, in my opinion. But you know this better than me, and you've done this way longer than I have. Hell, I'm 3 weeks in. But there's not. You're always a better team when it's player led, and you saw maybe a little more of that in Baton Rouge Saturday than you have previously. And I think moving forward, I think we have to understand and accept. Now, understanding is somewhat easy, but accepting can be difficult. Our roles. Mm-hmm. That's what the team, in my opinion, did last year. You know, when I was playing in high school, nowhere near this level, I understood the reason I got to play is because I did both of those things. You know, I understood I don't need to go try to get us 20. I need to get eight points, knock a couple of corner open threes down, and I need to have about 8 assists and about 3 steals. That was it. I never, you know, and so I thought we did a great job of that last year. And we're completely unselfish. I think if we get better and better at that, I think these guys, I think we're really, really talented. I mean, I think there's a lot of length, skill. I think we're quick. Something I've been wanting to see more of, Pat, until the last couple of games, and we kind of turned it around for now. I even asked JD Note this on the air the other day, and I don't remember his reply, but you know, prior to the Missouri game, we had a couple of games there we're down 10 points or something like that with 3 or 4 minutes left, and we start pressing full court and got a lot of turnovers. We're much more aggressive, which led to easy transition baskets. What say you? I mean, should we give that a whirl? I mean, earlier in the game, more so like you guys did back in the 40 minutes of hell days, because this team seems deep to me and athletic. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, and that's what I grew up with Arkansas basketball and Nolan. And that's the way I played in high school, run and jump, you know, pressure full court. But I don't know that I wouldn't like to see us do a little more of that.
And I'm like you. I grew up doing that. I think there's some. It just so happened my high school coach liked to press. My AAU coaches, wanted to press, and of course with Coach Richardson, I do feel from a mentality standpoint, as a player, when you do press, you get more aggressive. You get in attack mode. And I think this team, you can look at any kind of metric numbers you want, blah, blah, blah. I get the stat sheet right here. Arkansas, 14 of 18 from the free throw line. LSU 11 of 17 from the free throw line. We are a high percentage free throw shooting team. Matter of fact, 21% of our points come from the free throw line. We only made 5 threes. That's all. We don't have to. Yeah. So I guess to spin that to what you're talking about is the aggressiveness of taking it to the hoop is very key for us. Like, you know what I mean? We don't have, unfortunately, Dusty Hannahs, Daryl Macon. We don't have those knockdown shooters.
Pat Bradley.
Yeah, right. I would love to fit it. I was thinking about that, though. I mean, a lot. It does make things easier. That doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have enough guys that can spread the floor, which I think we do. So, yes, I do at times think pressing puts players in a mentality of attack on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, we've had some slow starts. At the time I asked him that, we had some slow starts, and then when we turned up the pressure, we had really, quite honestly, gotten ourselves back in games we shouldn't have been in because of how poorly we had played. So I thought maybe that would jumpstart the intensity. But I'm not a coach, and I don't get paid to coach, obviously. But I do coach. I just do it for free. I get paid just about the same as I do working for the Buzz, as you probably can attest to.
Let me ask you about your interactions with Coach Musselman. Have you had any up to this point?
A couple. You know, he and I believe it was last year, shared a text thread. I don't recall how it came about, but it was about the time you and I were doing the radio show together from home, and I had sent him a video of me knocking down some trays, and I said, "Hey, I still got a few years of eligibility left, Coach. I can't guard nobody, but I can knock down an open look here and there." And so we kind of developed a bit of a relationship, text relationship, and then I had gone to a game last year, I believe it was the A&M game. And if you remember that game at the Bud, we played really poorly and had to come back and beat them late in the game. Moody hit a really big 3 at the end of that game. So at the time it was all about seeding. And I remember having a conversation with him. I mean, 10 minutes after the game, he's giving a post-game speech and about to do his presser, et cetera. And all he's talking about is, I think now we're going to be a 5 seed or 4 seed or whatever, you know. He complete basketball coach, but I think he's incredible. I think he's really, really, really good. I think we're very, very fortunate to have him as a fan. And then as far as a basketball guy, loving the game, understanding the game, maybe a little more so than others who haven't played it. He's as good from a preparation standpoint, scouting opponent standpoint. And to me, what I loved Mike Anderson and thought he was great for the University of Arkansas, and think he's a really good basketball coach and a fine human being. But I thought where he lacked in-game adjustments from the bench, I think Coach Musselman excels at. And I don't think we've had that in a long while. And I'm damn proud that he's our coach, and I hope he's here for a long, long time. And, you know, Pat, you did this, as I've mentioned a number of times, a long time here in Arkansas. And, you know, we're fans, which is short for fanatic. And you get calls. We got calls this morning going, we need to give Keith Smart the head job. And I'm going, whoa. Are you out? I even said, if you truly believe that, you're asinine. I said that on the radio today. I said, who hired Keith Smart? Coach Musselman. And so, anyway, I have gotten to know him a little bit. I look forward to hopefully getting the opportunity to get to know him a little better. But I'm damn proud of our coach. There's no doubt about that. I think he's the best coach since Nolan Richardson to be here, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's very few coaches that's ever been in the game of basketball that have been in more basketball situations than him. And I think that's key, is because he's coached on every level, NBA, CBA, college basketball. so many games. I don't know if there's a scenario in game or off the court, even dealing with a team in the nuances of a team that he hasn't had to deal with. I mean, think about it. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
Actually, one of the great things about him, and I'm going to get these numbers wrong, which is fine, because who's going to push back against?
Who's going to check you up? Nobody.
Right. So when he was in the CBA, I think it was like his first week when he was a CBA coach. He was the head coach and general manager, and he broke every record for trades in the first week. He had like 40 trades, which you can tell. I mean, I can just see him bring it. And I played on that minor league basketball level, and brother, like, you could get it, be like, we're making a trade today. All right, one of the teammates, boom, sorry, brother, see you later, man. Another kid comes in, you don't know what you get. This kid, they said, we need to find a center. This is true. They go, all right, we got this guy, David Robinson. Everybody's like, what? This is like
the Admiral? Whoa.
But, we knew it wasn't him, but we're like, man, even if he's got the name, even if he has a sliver of D. Robinson, right. Dude shows up. I'm not joking. He is 6'4" by 6'4". He is not big up. So I can see Coach Muss, because the information on players, he'd probably sign a guy, get him in for half of a workout, be like, oh, no, this is not who I thought we were getting. See you later. Get him a bus ticket immediately. So, anyway, let me ask you, how can you compare you being the head coach of your music team, and what Coach Muss has to go through? Is there a comparison?
I think there are. I think first and foremost, regardless of my position, and being the head coach is a good comparison, because at the end of the day, it all falls on my shoulders. The success or lack thereof all comes back to me, because buck stops with top guy, and I love it. I thrive in that, under that pressure, and so it's fun for me. What could be really stressful, I enjoy, quite frankly. But before I even go into that,
decision-making position,
you have to make very difficult decisions, and you got to make them kind of in game, so to speak, to relate it to, the head coach of any sport at any level. You got to make them quickly. You don't have days or weeks at times to make decisions that are going to affect the outcome of a show or whatever the case may be.
Something real quick. One of the things that is so difficult, I don't know if people don't realize it, a head coach in your business, being the leader of your music team. What can we call that, by the way? How do you refer to your music team?
A team. I mean, we say our team or our camp.
How difficult is it? And this is when I was coaching, I found this difficult. You have to make decisions that will either make or break somebody's dream at times. A player, his dream is to play in the NBA, let's say, or like, but you have to sit him down and say, you don't got it. We need to get somebody else who does. So how do you deal with those decision making? Like, when you have to remove somebody from your team, that might be a dream. Like, it's a cold business, I know, but you got a big heart. So I don't know how you deal with that.
Yeah, I'm loyal to a fault, have been known to be, which I think, can be taken negatively, but it certainly has good qualities about it at the same time. I think first and foremost, you have to be really good. You have to be a really good communicator. You have to earn respect. It shouldn't just be given to you, and often isn't, as it should be. And so hopefully I do that. I at least attempt to. I think the most important thing for me in my business, and I think it's true of any business, Pat, is especially when you're like myself, when you own your own business, which is
Right.
basically what I do. It's own a small business, and um, and you want it to succeed. This is at least my method of coaching, managing, being a boss, which I hate being. Is somebody told me, my manager told me, who's been my manager for 20 years, on a handshake deal, both sides.
On like a little napkin, like a
Literally
virus.
literally a handshake. We've never had a contract, still don't to this day. And he's one of my best friends in the world. And he's double my age, and he's from Jersey, Jay-Z, and I'm my age from the South, and we get along tremendously, and
Who is that?
literally love each other. Pete Hartung, Hartung. You've met him, I'm sure, over the years, but
Right, yeah.
he told me a long time ago. He said, if you ever walk in a room and you're the smartest person, leave. And I've never forgotten that. It always stuck with me. And so I've tried my best throughout my career and believe that I've achieved it. I've tried to surround myself with people who not only are smarter than me, but are as skilled, if not more skilled than me, and that have the same morals in life. We all make mistakes, but at least their goal is to be the best human being each day that they wake up as they can be.
Mhm.
Because that pushes me to do the same thing. I can't earn your respect if you're trying to achieve that, and clearly I'm not, then I'm not going to earn your respect. So I have people that push me to be better, not only as a musician, but better as a person,
Right.
and even take it a step farther, be a better Christian each and every day, which I'm proud to say that I am. Not as good as I want to be, but
None of
but
us are. None of us
no,
are.
but
By great
and
faith,
the other
great.
thing I do, sorry, man, I'm cutting in and out, or you are a little bit. I apologize if I'm stepping on you. But the other thing to me, and I think this is key in our business, and I don't know how it translates to any other business, but I'm not a micromanager, and this is where the communication thing comes into play a little bit. I tell anyone and everyone I hire, I'm hiring you to do this job, whether it's the band leader, whether it's the drummer, whether it's production manager, lighting director, whatever it is. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job because I don't know how to do it. That's why I hired you. So I don't step on people's toes and say, hey, can you play that note instead of that note? Because I trust that they know better than me. They don't tell me how to sing, and I don't
Mhm.
tell them how to play or run their piece of equipment or drive their tractor trailer. And I also tell them this. I said, look, I'm not a rah-rah guy now. I'm not the one that's going to come up and tell you every night that's the greatest show you ever played. But know this, if you get a paycheck each week and you don't hear from me, then you're doing a fantastic job. So but I communicate that. It sounds funny, but I communicate that early on so they
Right.
know where I'm coming from. And certainly I don't have all the answers, but it's worked out for me, handling my business in that manner over the years. And we have very little turnover in a
Mm.
business that is notorious for turnover, which I'm very, very proud of.
Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for BetRivers yet, now is the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their Rush Pay Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, it's more secure, and it's more reliable. Now that basketball season is tipping off, get in on the action at betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while I got you here, let's talk about the Field of 68 Media Network, where college basketball matters most all year round. This is a digital media and podcast network that we've been building over the course of the last year. We have shows hosted by some of your favorite players covering the program that they love the most. AJ Guyton hosts the House of Hoosier. Eric Devendorf covers Syracuse on the scorer's table. Dan Dickow hosts the Gonzaga Bulldog broadcast. We have Florida's Patrick Young and Duke's Andre Dawkins and North Carolina's Shammond Williams and Michigan's Stu Douglas and Illinois' Deion Thomas. The list goes on and on and on. We have more than 30 shows right now. So hit the links below and check them all out. And while you're at it, make sure that you go check out the Field of 12 Media Network, your home for college football.
Well, I think I guess it's a tip of the cap to your parents, man, or whoever it was that influenced you, because to be in the business you're in, to have such a great reputation with people, with your family, keeping everybody together, and you still live, I don't know how many miles from Poen. Certainly,
I live in Poen.
Oh, okay? All right, you're back in Poen.
I am, yeah.
Oh.
So when you and I met, I believe I had moved to Bryant, which for those out there listening who may not know is a suburb of Little Rock, and we loved it there. It was great. My wife owns a store there now, This Little Piggy. It's a children's boutique. Who do you think come up with that name, Pat?
Yeah, you talked to her, but she's from Louisiana, right?
Yeah, she's from Houma, which is 45 miles south of New Orleans, and we now have her sister and our brother-in-law and our nephews up here. They live in Poen. Her mom and dad live in Benton, which is just outside of Bryant. So a lot of her family are here. A lot of them still there, grandparents, aunts, uncles, etc. We still go down there once or twice a year when we can. And so, yeah, and she wears Razorback red. There's no purple and gold in this house. If it's not Poen, because ironically, our Poen Indians are purple and gold. How crappy is that?
So take me into the Poen State Championship. What year was that?
It was 2002. Yeah.
All right. 2002. You starting point guard, correct?
Well, so I had started my entire career at the one, and we had a transfer point guard come in. He was a JD Notae type point guard. I was more of a Corey Beck type point guard for our Razorback fans out there. That, I was the grit, hustle, dirty work, always be in the right position, make the extra pass. He was the Notae. He could get to the cup. He could step back from 30 feet. Really, really good player. Good player. And so he transfers in. My coach comes to me before this happens. He knows it's happening. And he says, I know you've played the one your entire life. I'm going, yeah. He goes, how would you like to shoot more next year? I go, I mean, what are we talking about? He goes, a lot more open looks from behind the 3-point line. I go, okay, cool. Because, at 5'6", I wasn't taking it to the rack and finishing at the rim too well. I was going in there to dish it, obviously. And so I tried not to go below the free throw line ever, Pat. But
I know. I mean, it's some players know the strengths.
Yeah. So you add to the mix this guy who's a dynamic scoring point guard. And we had a group of players, Pat. It was kind of like Hoosiers, quite honestly, because it's a 2A school, small school. So it's just luck if you have a number of players who are really good players, high IQ players, guys that understand the game, or you don't. I mean, you either got a bunch of them or you got a couple of them, and that determines how good you are. We were really good as a group for a couple of years prior to that, and had honestly choked in regional games that eliminated us from getting to the state tournament, not even the championship, the tournament itself. We played in a really good region, and we choked. And I was part of that my junior year. I missed 3 or 4 open looks last couple minutes of the game. But we had a lot of good players. And for that size school, we had a lot of length. So obviously I was the smallest player that started. and played a lot of minutes. But I mean, our two-man was close to 6 foot. Our three-man was 6'4", 6'5". 4 and 5 men, 6'5", 6'5", or 6'5", 6'6", depending on who's starting. And then we went 10 deep. So we played a run and jump style, picked you up, full court the entire game. And we probably, I don't know the stats, but if we didn't average getting 20 turnovers a night, I would be surprised. But when people ask me about it, it was just a really, really good team. And we had every type of piece that you could imagine. You know, we had scorers. We had 3 guys who could go get you 30 any night. We had length, obviously, which was key on defense. And not only did we have length, we had guys who could run. I mean, all 3 through 5 men, they were 6'5" and up, and they could run. And so, you know, and we had played together. Here's the most important key. We had played together since we were 4. Every one of us, you know, grew up in the same small little town, played T-ball together, then moved on up in baseball, junior Babe Ruth, senior high. And then we had started in Boys and Girls Club, you know, playing when we were 4 or 5 years old in basketball. And it was one of those deals. I'm sure you had this with Kareem Reed and Derek Hood and some guys in high school I'm sure you played with. I didn't have to look. When I drove the lane, I knew he's going to be right there. I don't have to look over there and throw it to him. I know where he's moving to, where he's spotting up at. And so we had a really unbelievable year, man. We went 39-0.
Wow.
Had one game canceled. I didn't catch your question.
I said, that's a lot of games in high school, 39?
Yeah, and we had one canceled due to snow, and it was a team that we would have beat easily. But there's something.
So much better.
I know, right? So we could have got to 40, but the reason why and this helped our basketball program, the reason why we played so many games, Pat, is because we didn't have football at the time in high school. We didn't have enough kids. We didn't have the numbers. So when all these teams are still playing, you know, playoff football and even later in the regular season, we were already playing basketball. So we had 10 games, 12 games under our belt, in a head start on everybody else. So it really helped our program, I believe.
Do you know? I didn't realize you guys are 39-0. Do you know? I was going to ask you about Arkansas high school basketball because, I mean, Arkansas high school basketball is so underappreciated. Since I've been in the state, I've been blown away by the amount of talent in Arkansas high school basketball, and it just keeps producing. I mean, these guys keep producing. We got a bunch of them coming next year for Coach Muss. But do you know where your state championship team? It's got to be up there in terms of one of the more impressive teams in the last 20, 30 years in Arkansas high school. 39-0, bro. That's
I don't know, man. I you know, a lot of people would discount us because we were 2A. I'm sure at the time, I don't remember if there were 5 classifications or if there were 7, but before I started playing in high school, and I don't remember how many years prior, but they used to have an overall champion where the 5 or 6 or 7 state champions in each classification would play each other. And then they did, I don't know if they still do it, but they did, even when I was there, you didn't get to play each other anymore. And we would have had a really good chance, in my opinion, to win the overall had we had the opportunity. I mean, I realized that you get up 5, 6, 7, 8, that's a different caliber player. But like I said, we had some dudes. I mean, we had some dudes, you know, we had 2 or 3 scholarship guys, D1, you know, that went and played. And so we had some dudes, but we would have had a chance. You know, I'm sure one of those, I don't know if it was Parkview or if it was Catholic or who it was that won it that year in 7A, but we would have had an opportunity. I think, if I'm not mistaken, They did do a final ranking overall in the state, and I think we were ranked second or third overall
Wow.
in the state that year. And so, you know, as a 2A school, that's pretty high praise, you know.
That's what I was saying. Just hearing what you're talking about, it's you guys are probably up there in terms of one of the great teams that the state's ever seen. Even for a 2A, even in the 2A, just the domination of 39-0 blows you away.
Yeah, and it's what's wild about it, Pat, is we in the regional championship game, we played Hector in our region. Really good. Really, they had two really good players. Their point guard Brandon Cole is his name. He went and played somewhere D1, and if I'm not mistaken, still holds the record in Division I for the most 3-point baskets made in a career. I think at least it was until recently.
Brandon came out for the Rim Rockers with us. We should have kept him.
Okay. He was a really good player.
Heck of a play. Great kid too. Yeah.
Really good player. And then they had another guy who was a swing man, had played the 2 or 3 spot, depending on situations. And he could shoot it, man. He could go get you 30. I think if I'm not mistaken, Brandon was probably 6 foot, and this other cat was probably 6'2", 3. Really skilled, could get to the cup, could back you out and face you up, step back 3, or back you down and score over the top of you, or at least me, not you. But they were really good. But where I'm going with that is we go all the way through our side of the bracket in state, and I don't even think we had a close game in state. It was harder to get out of our region than it was to win, to get to the state championship, quite honestly. And lo and behold, Hector goes all the way back through their side of the bracket, and we meet again in the state championship game. So, wow. And they were both really tight, really, hotly contested games. But man, that was the only thing. We get there, we're 38-0, and we've pretty much dominated everyone all year, and we go, oh my gosh, we got to play them again. It's so difficult to beat a really good team twice in a season, much less twice in about 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, ask Alabama about that in football.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, Justin Cole Moore, I want to save a little bit so I can get you back on a couple weeks. Then you bringing me up on stage and singing stories. We'll save that for the next one.
For sure. Couple things. I got to get you on my podcast.
Okay.
We do it every Tuesday, and you tell me when you're good to go, and we'll do that. Maybe wait a couple more weeks or so and see what the Razorbacks basketball team does and get your perspective there. And my tour manager, JR, he's a big Alabama fan, so it'd be nice to maybe get your perspective from an SEC network professional, the best one on there, and that's not me being biased, here in a couple of weeks as we get further on into SEC play. The other question I have for you, though, I said this on the air today, and I brought it up to Jimmy Dykes, who was on the show. But do you agree with this, or are you going to say, Justin, you're stupid, go back to singing? It seems like to me, Devo Davis, his numbers are about the same, if not a little bit better than they were last year. But when you look at it, you're going, there's no way that can be true. But it looks to me like he does not see the floor well when he's running the point, because that's where the majority of his turnovers are coming from. Do you agree with me? He needs to just always play off the ball unless we absolutely have to have him in at point guard? Or am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. You're not crazy at all. I think Devo Davis is an all-around player. I've said this. He's not a guy that he can't score 20. He can get 10 assists, but though, like, a point guard is a mentality. It's not a position. It's not letters. So I played back and forth with my old
That's a great quote, man. I'm gonna steal that because I'm just thinking to myself, I also played catcher in baseball, point guard in basketball, and you got to have the same mentality
right.
in each. But that's a great point.
It is. So, and I always use this like in basketball, like if you have, and again, I'll go back to the most successful teams that I know the players personally, like the national championship team, they all had point guard mentalities. They weren't all point guards, but I'll put these quotations around point guard. Throw that out. The mentality is different. I went back and forth in my career where I was the lead guard, take it out of bounds, give it to me. It's my mentality changed to now I'm responsible for 4 guys. Here, get it here. That's my mentality. Like I still knew I had to score, but my mentality was to be the head coach in a sense, like you said, on the floor. But the other thing too is the other guys have to accept you as being that. Like, as you know, as a leader, people you're leading have to willing to accept you as a leader. I understand this trust and all that stuff. And that's, so I think with Devo Davis, he is an all-around player. Yes, early on, you could see he struggled with understanding how to play that role. And I think he's at his best when he's free to do everything. He's free to rebound. He's free to catch it, make a move, make a pass. He's free to defensive rebound and lead the break. He's free to defend. I just think he's like his game. I don't want to say it's misunderstood, but I think people try to pin it down and define it. And I think the beauty of Devo Davis's game is you can't define it. Dude could get 20 or he could get 0 points and 20 steals or 10 assists and 15 rebounds. I think that's the beauty of it.
He affects the game in so many different ways.
Yeah. And to your point, though, maybe he doesn't have that Kareem Reed point guard mentality that where, Kareem was the ultimate general.
Right.
He was the ultimate, give him the ball. I mean, and he was that personality. Teams, so, and I realized that this year, part of the struggle for the Hogs has been, who's going to be our point guard? Because JD Note is a scorer. He wants to score more than be a point guard.
He's the best in that role in this system, in my opinion. JD.
Right. And Chris Likes is the same way. Just because he's 5'7" doesn't mean he's a point guard mentality.
Right. I would argue this too, Pat, to your point. The guy with the most point guard like mentality on the team is probably Jalen Williams.
100%. 100%. Matter of fact, I want him to shoot more. Be honest.
Well, it's funny you say that because he hit the big 3 to put us up against LSU here in the last couple of minutes of the game, something like that. The week before, I said, "Hey, Jalen, I love that you're selfless and you pass the ball probably better than any big man in the SEC, maybe the country. He's a really great and willing passer." I go, "But could you take like 8 more threes a game, please?" Yeah, I think he needs to score more for us, be more assertive on offense.
Well, quickly,
honestly, I think we need that.
On your point, great passers have to also give a threat to score because you watch the defenses now, Justin. The reason why he was able to shoot that 3 is because they're so afraid of him making passes to cutters. They sag down in the lane on him because they're so worried about what he does passing the ball.
Right.
So all he does is make a couple of those. Oh, forget it. Now he's by his man. He's looking like Magic Johnson out there, man. It's
yep.
I love him. Well, I'll let you get out of here, man. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate
Hey, man, I really enjoyed it. You know me, I could do this for the next 6 hours.
One last thing before I let you go. It's about the NIL deals. And
Yeah.
I'm curious in your perspective, part of that now is you're allowed to pay Razorback players to come on the radio with you. And just in general, the NIL, what have you observed from a distraction standpoint? And players, do you think they even knew what they were signing up for in terms of demands on their time?
Well, I don't know that I'm educated enough on it to discuss the distraction part of it. I mean, it is. I mean, I've been paid um, indirectly in my professional career to have those distractions over the years. Get up early and do an interview or whatever the case may be, or go visit a radio station, or be on TV, or the Today Show, but I was a grown man when I did those things. So I can understand if it were to be difficult for these kids and distracting, to your point, but I don't know if that would probably be a more of a, I would really like to know the answer from Musselman or Pittman or Van Horn to see what they think about that. If it's affected their practice time or game time stuff or whatever.
Hey, I don't know if we'll ever get the real answer, because I think all coaches are very aware of negative recruiting against. Well,
no, you're exactly right.
He doesn't buy it.
Right. But as an overall, my thoughts on the whole thing are, as a fan of college athletics, I don't love it. I'm kind of going to speak out of both sides of my mouth here. I don't love it because I believe some of the charm of college athletics are gone, and that genie will never be put back in the bottle. It just isn't. It's just not the same game as it was. Just like the one and dones have contributed to that. You're not going to see teams grow together and you go, oh man, we got Day and Mayberry coming back and the Big O, and you're just not going to see that anymore. The other part of me goes, you know what, Justin, you're a believer in capitalism. These kids should be able to make money off their name and their image and likeness. So I just think, Pat, honestly, I think it's a good thing overall for these kids. I would hope that they're surrounded by people who care for their best interest. Let's put this much in the bank or this percentage in the bank. And, you can't tell a 21-year-old kid, or man rather, or woman, you got to do this, you got to do that. But I would hope that they would be getting sound advice from whether it be parents or grandparents or positive influence in their lives. Obviously you don't know that. That you just hope. But I do think, Pat, to be honest with you, I think there has to be some out of bounds lines drawn, because as you know, I mean, you look at A&M, it's rumored that they set up a nonprofit to get the number one recruiting class in the nation, somewhere around 25 million or something like that. Well, if I'm a part of the Razorback Foundation and I'm trying to get money for facilities, et cetera, I'm going, are we going to, you know what I mean? Are we going to be losing his endowment because he's going to be given to this cat?
Are you saying A&M didn't have that set up before?
Well, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm sure it was. I'm sure they had really interesting ways of getting that done before. But,
Aggie, I'm joking, Aggie. I'm joking. It's funny. I had Devo Davis and Jalen Williams on the podcast a couple months ago before the season. I said, fellas, guess what? when I was in school, we didn't have to work to get the money. You guys got to work for it now.
That's great.
I'm
That's
kidding.
great perspective. That's great perspective.
I'm kidding, NCAA.
But I think there have to be some rules put in place. I think it probably needs to parallel recruiting. If you're, what do they call the periods of time when you can't talk to recruits, and then it opens up at a certain point? Forgive me for not knowing the specific verbiage there, but I think they're going to have to regulate it somehow. Maybe you don't put a dollar amount on it, but and this lends itself to portal talk also. You can only be in the portal at this point in time, and then it's closed, and then you can get back in here, because otherwise, man, as you know, it's just the wild, wild west out there. So again, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I think it's a good thing. I think it's fair that Pat Bradley can go, make money for being Pat Bradley, because just because you're a college student doesn't mean you shouldn't have earning potential.
Right.
But at the same time, I think there's going to have to be some rules put in place, and I don't know what they are. I mean, I don't know. Somebody a lot smarter than me will have to figure those out, but because again, it's pure insanity right now. It's crazy, and you don't see it as much in basketball. As far as I'm kind of talking about the portal stuff, you don't see it as much, but it all ties together. You don't see it as much in basketball necessarily at the rate, because, what do you carry in basketball on scholarship, Pat? 13, 14, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it seems like it may maybe up to 15.
In football, it's 85, and baseball, it's 40. I mean, so it's a lot for these coaches. I know we've spoken with some of them recently, and I have personally that I'm friends with, and it's crazy right now, man.
Yeah. I tend to believe in less regulation, and these things, smart people will be able to figure it out. I think it corrects itself in a way. So I do think it'll correct itself. I do think players, some of them will say, this is too many demands on my time. Just it all comes together, and I think there are coaches who are going to have different rules. I think they're going to be honest. They're going to be like, "This is what you have to do, and if your NIL stuff gets in the way of this, we don't want you."
Yeah, and I do think administrators are. I think the administrators, ADs, etc., who are proactive rather than inactive or reactive, I think you're going to see those schools have more success in this age than the ones who don't, if that makes any sense at all. I'm painting with a broad brush there, and that's a bit cryptic, but I think you're going to see the guys who go, all right, we need to get out ahead of this, or the gals, and the coaches as well, obviously. But I think the administrations are going to kind of steer this ship a little more than people realize.
All right, brother. Love you. I'm going to go get up some jump shots.